What is going on, you guys? My name is CodyT503 and this is Interesting Podcast, coming to you guys on June 14th, 2023 for episode 60, where today we have a very, very special guest. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you guys get notified whenever I upload content. Make sure to go and follow me on social media at CodyT503. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And now, ladies and gentlemen, AMIRA.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
Oh man, it is so awesome to actually be able to sit down with you. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right. Well, maybe for all of the people that maybe don't know you, maybe you can introduce your name, where you're from, and how long you've been in pro wrestling.
For sure. So my name is AMIRA. I'm a wrestler in the PNW, and I currently reside in Oregon. And yeah, I've been in wrestling training for 2 years, been on shows for 1 year. So not a very long time.
That is really awesome. Yeah. So, I heard that you were actually a part of the Oregon Pro Wrestling group.
Yes, so I am trained at the Oregon Pro Wrestling School. I was one of their first students. Me and one other person were the first two students in the door. And yeah, I'm their first female graduate from the school.
That is freaking awesome. So, like, when did you, I guess, actually get introduced to professional wrestling?
I got introduced to wrestling a few years ago now. I had broken my ankle from rock climbing a few years ago and was running out of things to watch. So my ex-boyfriend actually put on Lucha Underground for me to
Mhm.
watch, and that kind of got me hooked onto pro wrestling. Because yeah, I didn't watch it as a kid. Only got into it as an adult, and then I went to a couple of live shows before COVID hit. And then after COVID calmed down, I just became a pro wrestler myself. So,
That is really crazy. That is so awesome. So, like, how does it now feel to, like, I guess, haven't not really have, like, known about it for a very long time, but then, like, when you started to really dive into it, like, the world kind of expands into the world of professional wrestling. So how was that for you?
oh man, it's so much fun. Wrestling is addicting, and it's even more addicting when you decide to become one. Um, I feel like even though I didn't watch it as a kid, I kind of caught myself up, just watching old videos, old pay-per-views, and kind of watching all the things that people talk about. So I feel like I didn't miss out on much with the amount of work I did myself to just kind of watch more and learn more. But yeah, it's the best thing in the world.
That is so cool. Yeah, I know. I usually ask people about their first day and like actually going and signing up and doing everything. So can you like expand on maybe your day and actually taking the steps to becoming a pro wrestler?
Yeah, so my first day, so I've been doing athletic things for a while before I became a professional wrestler because I work in fitness. So I have been working out on my own. I teach group classes, done personal training. I've done a lot of that. So a lot of the athletics kind of came a little bit easier to me than some people on their first day.
Mhm.
Um, but it was a lot of fun. It was also a lot of things that challenged my limits, tested, what I was afraid of. And here's a cat. It was Stout. He decided he wanted to be part of this too. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of things that challenged me, even as somebody who's already athletic, just learning how to do different things. Getting over a fear of heights was definitely something that I had to go through.
Mhm.
Especially after I broke my ankle, I wasn't very fond of heights. Um, but yeah, that first day was great. It was all a little scary, definitely very sore for a few weeks. But I had known the main trainer there, Ricky Gibson, from shows before, because when I used to go to local shows, He was always there with his tag team partner as 4 Minutes of Heat, now Midnight Heat.
Mhm.
Um, so he had been kind of training me before, and then this day one at Oregon Pro Wrestling School really dove in. So it was nice to have a familiar face training me as
Mhm.
well. But I think that helped a lot.
Yeah. That is so crazy. So, like, is there any, because I know Spencer Scott had kinda said that he had these, like, preconceived notions of pro wrestling before he had started. Was there any preconceived notions that you had that kind of maybe expanded a little bit more when you actually stepped into pro wrestling?
Um, I think because I was so fresh and so new to it in general, I
Mhm,
didn't have as many preconceived notions. Um, I feel like I was kind of an open book, ready for anything. I knew it was going to be like any kind of sport, and that you have to train hard and you have to really invest yourself in it. There's a couple things that surprised me along the way. Like, I'm going to be honest, it hurts. Your body's going to be aching. You're going to
mhm.
be sore, and that's something that you get used to. Um, doesn't really go away. You get used to it. Um, and it just comes with it. Because like now that I'm wrestling on shows every weekend, like that first Monday back to training after a weekend of shows, I'm definitely struggling because I'm definitely very, very sore. But yeah, I don't know if I had any specific preconceived notions about what it was and what it would take or anything like that.
That's very, very interesting. Yeah. I know when was talking with Jack Hammer, I had kind of explained to him a little bit about like my little wrestling, by myself when I was a little kid. And I remember one time I had gone to do a bump, because I was looking up videos and I had
Hmm.
hardwood floor. So I just went and I like knocked the breath out of me. So it's like, have you ever like gone to do something and maybe knock the breath out of yourself
Yeah.
or like it just oh hurt?
The first power bomb I ever took, I held my breath and it already hurts. It hurt a lot more. Um, that was that. I remember that very vividly. It was just like that was a real struggle. I've been slammed on concrete before. I've been slammed on hardwood floor. It sucks. Like I don't want anybody to think like because we are going out there. We're risking our bodies. We're risking our lives sometimes for the sake of people coming to the shows. We want them to have a good time, and so it does hurt. And there's ways to make it bearable. There's ways to do it properly. But at the end of the day, even the best trained pro wrestler is going to tell you, like, yeah, it sucks sometimes. You're going to get that one slam and you're like, wow, I don't want to be here.
That is
Yeah.
so cool. So the first time that I had actually seen you perform was with Derek Drexel. So like
Oh, yeah.
how was that stepping into the ring with him and kind of having him as your tag team partner, knowing his veterinary veteran status. There you go.
Hmm.
Yeah.
This is the one in Independence.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I've known Drexel for a while. Again, I would see him at shows when I was just a fan.
Mhm.
So another one of those familiar faces that I just got to know more as I got more involved in pro wrestling. Um, he's the lovable, scary monster, and he's great to work with. Is just so kind to new people in the area and just helps us a lot. Yeah.
That is really really cool. No, that is really cool. Yeah. Something I wanted to ask you was so you are like a really powerful woman, and I've always wondered if you would ever do like MMA. Would you ever like actually want to be combative?
Um, so before pro wrestling, before even rock climbing, before all that, when I was living up in Seattle, between my freshman and sophomore year of college, there's a UFC gym nearby. And I thought about it. I really did think about it, but for whatever reason, I kind of just didn't think it was the right thing for me at
Mhm.
the time. Would I ever want to do MMA or UFC? I feel like I would. I definitely want to give it a shot. I'm down to try anything once, especially if it's something athletic like that. I'm already
Yeah.
pretty fighty to begin with, so
Yeah, no, that is so cool. So, as a professional wrestler, like, do you have very many inspirations that you found where you're or for like to for your character and whatnot?
yeah. Obviously with the strong woman character, I kind of look to the old school body guys in pro wrestling for some inspiration there. Being smaller, I look to like Ray Mysterio for inspiration on how to do quick, flighty things.
Mhm.
I love old school wrestling, so I love watching like Ricky Steamboat, um, the Steiners, a lot of different tag teams, like Road Warriors. But I look at those old school body guys and kind of try to adopt some of their mannerisms, some of their moves. Like I do World's Strongest Slam from Mark Henry, you know. I try to incorporate that kind of stuff just because people know it. It's worked in the past, you know.
Yeah. That is so cool. So, I wanted to ask you, before we actually kind of dived into a little bit about AEW, is how were you actually like presented that opportunity? Like, can you walk us through that day a little bit?
Yeah, so I actually did a tryout match for that. Dr. Luther did a seminar at DOA, and it was a tryout seminar. Um, and he liked what he saw, and then passed my name along to the people at AEW, and I got contacted to come and do Dark Elevation. So it was good.
That is really freaking awesome. So, like, was it more of like a phone call that you got that was like, hey, like, yeah, you actually have the opportunity?
Um, I think it was an email, but still, nonetheless, it was still pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, get you like really excited.
Hmm.
Yeah, so, like, how does that feel to, like, be in your first, couple years of professional wrestling and you actually being able to go and perform for AEW? Like, that's gotta be huge.
Yeah, no, it's so much has happened in just my first year of wrestling. It's been absolutely wild. I part of the time I'm like, I'm not sure how I'm keeping up with everything. Um, but I am so incredibly grateful, and I think you get out of things as much as you put in. So you have to put in a lot for pro wrestling, just like anything that you're passionate about. And
Mhm.
to seeing that kind of return on investment coming through, even so quickly as to come through my first year, has been amazing. It's been really cool.
Yeah, that is so awesome. So, like, how was it actually going, like, up to the arena and, like, knowing that, you were gonna be performing in such a big environment?
It was definitely a little nerve-wracking for sure. Because obviously there are so many people there, just even people like you've seen on TV. Like it's wild to know that somebody like Dean Malenko, who was backstage, could have maybe watched my match. I don't know if he did. I was too like I was focused on what I was doing, so I didn't really notice anything around me. Um, but that's such a surreal experience to get to have that opportunity and get to perform in front of people and even get feedback on how you can do better and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so how was, the AEW women's locker room? Like, did you get to meet, like, very many people besides, Rose and Shafir? Like, was there anybody else that you got to communicate with?
Yeah, I mean, everybody was kind of walking through. I mean, Soraya, Britt Baker, there's a lot of people there. Um, they were kind of, doing their own thing. I think the
Mhm.
one thing is that, yeah, I feel like it was just so busy going on, so we didn't really get a chance to like meet too many other talents. It's more of just a passing by, just say hi kind of thing.
Yeah, that is cool. So, like, when, you guys were actually sitting there and kind of knowing the amount of time that you guys had on the slot and kind of coordinating with each other where it was, Nyla Rose and Marina Shafir and then your tag team partner and yourself. how was that like sitting down? Like, were you guys kind of like told what to do, or were you guys able to actually give some a little bit of input on what you guys maybe had some ideas on?
Um, Basically, Danica and I kind of talked about what we felt like the match was going to need from us,
Mhm.
and then very brief kind of rundown of how we should go out and everything. But then most of the time, they just kind of send you in. It's a very short amount of time, and you can just do your best and read the cues and go in there and give it your best fight, you know?
That is really really cool. Like it's got to be kind of nerve wracking to kind of know that like you're at now a level in which they're just gonna throw you in and just be like, okay, well, like go out and have some fun and just figure out a good match, like do what you think you can do or coordinate
Hmm.
correctly and whatnot. Like how was that like knowing within just your first couple years?
Definitely it creates a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure to do well. There's a lot of
Mhm.
pressure to do good, and obviously the name of the school. I want to do good by the school. I want to do good by my trainers. So there's a lot of pressure with that. But because I was trained so well by very intelligent people, it gave me that confidence that I was able to do it, even though I am still so new, still learning a lot as well.
Mhm. Yeah. So how does it also, I guess, kind of feel to know that Tony Khan was, sitting there watching you, and with him, watching you, it's almost like like he would know that you're just within your first couple years, right? Um, and he could almost like have you like in like his back pocket where he's like, I'll come back and check her out. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
like it's so cool to know that you've already made it that far in just a short amount of time. It's just it's really really cool.
Yeah, yeah, no. Getting your face, your name in front of like those big promotions like AEW, it is such a good propel forward, especially my first year. And who knows what is going to be down the line. It's just knowing that they at least are aware that I'm existing. And that's the
Mhm.
first step.
Yeah. So I know that Jaden had said that when you stand in a arena that is that big, like people who say that you can't really see past the first few rows because it just seems like a sea of people, like that was no. So like is that like the same kind of experience, or was just so like how was it standing there in such a big environment? I apologize.
Um, you can definitely see all the people. Um, you even like the back row, you can see them. Um, it's it's such a it is such a big arena though that like you kind of or it's very easy to just kind of not really ignore it, but not get intimidated by it either. I
Mhm.
was very lucky that the people who actually took me to my first live wrestling show just so happened to be in the crowd that night. And they
Really?
were, yeah, they were in one of the closer sections, so I was actually able to see them cheer for me, so that was actually really nice. So you can see all the people very pretty clearly when you're in there, and I'm actually grateful that I was able to because it was such a amazing moment to know that my friends who took me to that first live wrestling show were able to see me in there.
That is so awesome. That is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So, I have a question. So, obviously, like a lot of people see that you have the potential to go outside of the Pacific Northwest and whatnot. Like you just carry that with you. And is there any specific place in which like you want to travel to or expand out to?
Um, I mean, for the most part, I've been just on the West Coast, just doing my thing because I've been down to California and I've gone to Nevada and I go up to Canada and Washington pretty frequently as well. I think just branching out to the other coast, kind of making my way to the other side of the states would be great.
Mhm.
Um, my mom currently lives in Thailand, So any chance to kind of branch out to a more international market, just so she can see me wrestle a little bit easier, might be fun as well.
That is crazy. So, like, how is it like having parents that live in like a completely different country and making a name for yourself here, and then like like that has to be so interesting.
Mm. Yeah, so my mom is Thai, so I'm half Thai, and I actually lived in Thailand for 7 years. I graduated high school there. So after high school, I decided to come back to the States because I'm originally from Albuquerque, New Mexico. So I
Mhm.
decided to come back to the States for college, and I came to Oregon. Out of all the places, I've never been to Oregon, and I just chose it. Um, it's tough sometimes because my mom is still in Thailand. And especially with COVID and everything, travel has been so limited, and I haven't seen her since 2018. So she hasn't seen any of my wrestling other than videos. So it's a little tough because I want to share that with her. But I think pretty soon, one day soon, I'll be able to.
That is so freaking awesome. So like I could imagine that like when you are able to make your entrance um at a wrestling show in Thailand where she can, see you, um just like how of emotional that would probably be. And I guess that kind of leads me into another question is like how is it sometimes where you do have those emotions during a match and then like you have to try and force yourself to not be able to express them, you know what I mean, because like you have to be able to stay in character and do all of
Mm.
that. So how do you go about that?
um, So, I mean, first and foremost, with anything, like we're there to fight, we're there to put on a show. So if you're having a bad day, we always leave that at the door just so we can provide the best show. But there's
Mhm,
also like a balance of like good emotions. Like I was very emotional after I debuted and did my first match ever at DOA for the Queen of Thorns tournament last year.
mhm,
Um, but it's one of those things where I kind of held my emotions in and focused on what I was doing until afterwards, and then I felt those emotions. Or even like the first time I got to wrestle in a singles for Defy, that was a really emotional thing for me just because with all these local promotions, I go out and help and I do my best to make sure that they can have the best show and to get a chance to actually work for them and wrestle on a show. It was just so surreal. And I remember just going out to the back after my match and just crying, just happy tears, but it was just like one of those overwhelming things. But I think like really staying focused on the moment and what I'm doing in the moment kind of helps me like either channel the emotions or keep the emotions separate for the time being. Because I think emotions are what makes wrestling good. It's what makes wrestling relatable. So we should always try to channel some emotions into it, some of our personal emotions. But you decide which ones are going to be useful and which ones aren't going to be useful.
mhm. That is so interesting. So I wanted to ask you about your times in San Francisco. So how was it going down there and performing?
Yeah. So are you talking about the Queen of Indies?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then
Um,
I also saw you with Abigail Warren. I believe.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I've gone to yeah, the first time I went to California for wrestling was in San Francisco for the full queer show at Folsom Street Fair,
Mhm,
and it was a very wild time. I did get to wrestle Abigail Warren,
mhm,
so that was a lot of fun. It was very like, wow, I'm actually getting to wrestle somewhere that's not Oregon and Washington rather quickly for
mhm.
somebody who had just debuted not that long ago. So that was awesome. I'm very grateful to Bambina for giving me the opportunity, and just grateful that like friends and connections I've made along the way, like those friendships help, and those friendships are what makes it a great time. So getting to see some of my friends down there was great as well. And then getting to wrestle in the five-way scramble match at Queen of Indies not that long ago in San Francisco was also great. Again, it's just getting to work with new people and also getting to see people that I don't normally see that often. It's an all-around positive environment.
That is really, really cool. So did you get to kind of go and and kind of go by Alcatraz and go and check it out when you were down there?
Unfortunately, not. Normally, when I'm in another town for a wrestling show, I'm kind of in and out pretty quickly because either I have to wrestle the next day or I have to go to work the next day. Um, so not a lot of sightseeing. I had actually been to San Francisco way before I started wrestling and actually have gone to see Alcatraz and stuff though. So
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's actually really, really cool, especially if you get like a little boat ride that you can go and
hmm
take out. Because I had gone in 2019 and really, really crazy experience. So if you ever
yeah,
get the opportunity, I really, really suggest it.
it's definitely on my mind.
Uh,
Yeah.
so one thing I wanted to bring up to you is I saw on Twitter that a lot of people were kind of tweeting out that you can take your name and pretty much attach it to any pro wrestling move and it would work, like the Amiraplex or the Amiracarana or the Miraton or the inverted Amira drop. Like you can
uh-huh.
do anything with your name. It is so awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it pretty easy to come up with a move set if I could just insert my name into it. It's kind of like I'm a Pokemon. Just say my name all the time.
That is so cool. So, like, how was it like going through your training and kind of adapting to your own repertoire and these are your moves that you kind of want to stick to as far as Amira's move set.
hmm Um, Throughout the duration of your training in pro wrestling, you kind of get a feel for what you do best, what is most comfortable to you, what looks good for your size, your body type, and this and that. Um, Coming up with my stuff was a little bit interesting just because, I'm smaller, so you wouldn't expect me to pick up somebody super heavy or bigger than me. But I can do it. So it was kind of like finding ways to make that make sense, right?
Mhm.
So I do try to incorporate agility and also strength moves. I try to make it very diverse. But at the end of the day, I try to keep myself pretty flexible too. I don't want to get too married to a particular move set because then people can kind of figure out what you do and find ways to counter it. Um, but also just it makes it so that I'm never stuck in a situation where I'm not sure what to do. I kind of keep my mind open and find new and fun things to do while doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we had kind of touched earlier on you kind of being like or wanting to do something other like combative. And,
hmm
would you ever kind of, like, bring that aspect to your character? Because, like, sometimes when, like, I see, you with, like, your hair up, it almost, like, kind of, like, reminds me of, like, Ronda Rousey because, like, you're fit and you're like,
hmm
I just see that, and, like, I was just wondering if you would ever attach that to your character and maybe test it out.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's kind of I kind of to see where my character kind of goes.
Mhm.
Right now, it's more almost superhero-esque in a way, just with this superhuman sort of strength and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, if I feel like it's me, if I feel like it's something that I'm comfortable with, then maybe one day in the future I could incorporate that, or I could incorporate something else. I just kind of have to see where it all goes.
That is really, really cool. So, I know that some people that I've talked to about you, especially when like I go to like DOA fans. Um,
hmm
so back in 2017, 2018, when I had gone and seen the wrestling company in Salem, there was this Aubrey Edwards, from AEW.
hmm
And she was there and everybody kind of looked at her and was like, okay, so like we know like we can just feel that she's gonna make it big someday. And so,
hmm
like, how does it feel to have these people like look at you perform and just look at you and we kind of just all feel like you're going to make it big someday. And like how does that just feel as a performer to have that backing so much?
It's definitely flattering, and I really appreciate everybody who says such nice things and thinks nice things about me. Um, I'm incredibly humbled by it. I'm just here to work hard and make sure everybody has a great time when they're out at shows because I know like everyday life kind of sucks sometimes. So if I can help you just have a couple hours of just mental release and feel like you're having fun, like that's all I'm here to do. Um, but yeah, having that extra support, it definitely means a lot. It definitely helps me keep going when the days are a little bit harder.
That is really, really awesome. That is so cool. So, I had a really kind of fun question. So,
Hmm.
just to get to know you a little bit more. So, like, what are some of your like personal like pet peeves? Do you have any like personal pet peeves you could share with us?
Um, Personal pet peeves, that's tough. I'm definitely very easygoing, so it's hard to like get on my nerves. But I definitely don't really like it when people say something about like, oh, you can't do that. Well,
Hmm.
you can't do this, you can't do that. Because like it it makes me want to do it even more. That's definitely one of those pet peeves. I don't like it when people um this is more of a gym pet peeve, I guess. I don't like it when people assume that you're gonna like lift a certain amount of weight, I guess. Like a lot of guys in the gym will just assume things
Hmm.
about like my strength and stuff like that. And so it's kind of annoying when they're like kind of pushing lighter weights towards my weight. That's kind of a weird gym pet peeve. I also don't like it when people don't put their weights away because then I have to put them away because it's just me. I'm a very organization person. I need everything to be organized the way I want it. But yeah, it is very much like cleanliness OCD for me, and like people who aren't very aware of their surroundings are very aware of like all their belongings. That definitely is one of those major pet peeves. Like, put your stuff away next to me, please. Other than that, like I don't really have too many pet peeves, I think.
Yeah. That is really, really interesting. Well, before we actually end up closing everything out, I do want to ask you, like, what professional wrestling means to you every time that you get to perform, especially having figured out professional wrestling.
Hmm. Um, Professional wrestling, what it means to me, again, kind of like what I talked about before. It's that connection with the crowd and with the fans. It has been such a joy and a spark in my life. And to be able to give that to somebody else is amazing. It's one of the best feelings um, that I can experience. Getting to be able to perform in front of people, even little kids, little girls, and have them come up to you after the show and just express how much fun they had. The little girls like flexing their muscles at me. That's one of those moments that I feel like I'm doing something positive and beneficial to the world because I think, pro wrestling is bigger than any one person, right? And
Hmm.
you have to think like what I'm doing is not just for me, it's for them too. If a little girl sees me in the ring able to do something one day, that's going to affect how she's seeing herself and it's going to affect how she feels like she can move around the world. She's going to feel more confident in the things she's doing because she saw me one time long ago when she was really little, you know? So wrestling is about the people, it's about the fans, and it's about being a part of something bigger than myself and giving back.
That is so freaking awesome. Well, I just want to thank you, like, again, like, so much for actually allowing me to sit here and talk with you. Like, it means a lot to me. So thank you very, very
Yeah.
much.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope you have a very, very good night, and I will catch you later.
All right, sounds good.
All
Bye,
right. Bye.
everybody.
All right, you guys. So that was Interesting's podcast interview with Amira. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you guys get notified whenever I upload content. Make sure to go and follow me on. Damn it, I apologize. I will actually be back June 16th for an interview with Shelby Waters. I apologize, you guys, and I will catch you guys later. I hope you guys all have